this is John, and welcome to another edition of Cozy, Charming, Crazy Real Estate, where we talk about everything real estate. Today we're going to talk about the accidental landlord and how we convert a home into a rental property. So let's get right into it. First, where do rentals come from? It could be a home that we lived in and now we're getting ready to go to Europe for 3 years. We want to move back into the home when we come back, but we don't want to leave it empty, so we're going to rent it out. It could be a home that we inherited. Maybe we even grew up in it. But it has been a home, now it's going to be a rental. Maybe it's a vacation home or a second home that we purchased some time ago, but now we need to derive some income from it, so we're going to rent it out. But at any rate, we're going to start with a property that has been a home and is now going to become a rental. So let's get started. We're going to want to understand the role of the home and of ourselves as managers. We're going to talk about a business plan and how to put it together, and we're going to talk about prepping the property to get ready for our tenants. So, understanding our roles. First, as accidental landlords, we're going to want to make some important decisions. As Charles Grodin is asking Steve Martin in this scene from the movie The Lonely Guy, first-time accidental landlord. Actually, most accidental landlords, it is their first time. They did not make a decision to become a landlord, and they are starting with a home. They didn't buy this property to be a rental. So now they're going to have to make some decisions they haven't had to make before. The first one, and one that's very important, is do they want to be an active landlord or do they want to be a passive investor? Now, an active landlord is someone who's involved in the property on a day-by-day basis. A passive investor is someone who might hire a manager, make some important decisions from time to time, but basically leaves the day-to-day management of the property to a manager. Now, this is a very important question, and it has a tax consequence. Therefore, recommend you speak to your tax professional about it before making that decision, and they will help you decide which way you want to go. The other thing we need to understand about the property is that formerly, if it was a home, especially if we lived in it, it was a place where we had some of the best times of our life, I hope, where we found comfort, safety, security, and we have an emotional detachment to it. During the period in which it is going to be a rental, we need to pull back the emotional side a little bit because our tenants are not going to have that emotional connection. They're not going to maintain it as well as we did when we lived there. So we have to perhaps find a way to let some of that go or not let it upset us. It can be an emotional thing. I have seen it in some accidental landlords where they don't like the way that the tenants are treating their property, and it causes them a little emotional pain. It's something that you have to expect. So let's look at our business plan and what we're going to do with our business plan. We're going to define the property. We're going to analyze our market. We're going to run some numbers and have a financial plan. And we're going to talk about the resources we need to operate it. So first, defining the property is defining the location and the neighborhood. And this would include not only just where the property is, but as we would look at if we were going to go buy a property or as if we were going to market this one for sale, we want to be able to know, is it walking distance to theaters and restaurants and shopping? Is it a good, safe neighborhood? How are the schools? Things like that. We want to know something about the neighborhood. We want to know then features about the house, such as the style of the house, the features such as how many bedrooms, how many baths, and then the overall size of the house, and if it has a yard, the size of the yard. One of the things that potential renters are going to look at, in addition to is it a good neighborhood, is it a good property, what services come with it. By that I mean, if you are going to have a lawn, who cares for that lawn? Is it included in the rent that a lawn maintenance company takes care of it, or does the tenant have to take care of himself. These are things we need to think about as we define what this property is that we're going to ask people to rent. Now, looking at the market, we're going to look at general market conditions in the neighborhood, but we're also going to look at the competitive position of this particular property. And to do that, we run what is called a market rent analysis. Again, it's basically you look at that property, you look at competing properties, and it will help you decide how much you can charge basically for rent. Also, if you need to add or delete any features to be more competitive, that should be included in the market rent analysis. We're going to put together a financial plan. Once we know how much rent we can have coming in, we need to budget costs. Those costs include the fixed costs such as mortgage, taxes, insurance, and while we're on the subject of insurance, you will also want to talk to your insurance professional because you are going to need additional coverages for a rental property than you would have just for a home. It may not cost a lot more, but they are going to be different, so do consult with your insurance professional. You also have some variable costs. You want to plan for vacancies. Hopefully they won't happen, but you never know. You're also going to want to plan some marketing expenses, and that by marketing we mean actually advertising your vacancy. You're going to want to put some money aside for repairs. You're then going to want to consider those landlord-tenant allocations, not only who cares for the lawn, but who pays the utilities. You may find in some locations that the landlord has to pay for the security system. They have to pay for the garbage. You need to check that out and budget for those. You also want to be putting money aside for capital improvements. No roof lasts forever. Same with driveways. You may have to make improvements from time to time, so plan on putting a little money aside, and then have cash reserves for all those things, and especially you don't want to be caught without cash if you need to make any major repairs. Operating resources, you want to know what advertising channels you can use to advertise your vacancy, which ones bring you the best tenants. You're going to have a need for maintenance vendors, everything from electricians to plumbers, and normally it's recommended you have a file 3 deep, have 3 electricians, 3 plumbers in your database. You may have a favorite, but what if he's out of town? So everything from plumbers to general repair guys, you want to have more than one that you can call on if you need it. And then you want to decide, do you want a property manager? Maybe you want one running the day-by-day. Maybe you just want one on call that you can consult with from time to time. Then you want to also have, because this is a business, tax and legal advisors. You might not need them every day, but it is a business. Now, prepping the property, we're going to talk about removing personal items, hardening the fixtures and surfaces, the house itself, the property itself. And then we're going to talk about leases and other documents you're going to need that match the property. So, removing the personal property, anything with special meaning that could be broken, damaged, or that you want to make sure is safe, you're going to have to remove it. You want to put that somewhere safe off the property. Anything that is easily lost or broken, you want to remove. If you have a $500 faucet in the master bath, and you're afraid it could be broken, go ahead and replace it with a $150 faucet before you start showing the property to potential renters. If you are going to use storage, make sure it's lockable, and make sure that storage is not in a location that the tenants believe that they should be able to use. It detracts from the value of the property. You want to harden the property to every extent possible. We talked about the faucet, but also things like easy care floors. Maybe pull out the carpet and put down tile or wood laminate, something a little more durable. If you're going to paint the property to nice neutral colors for your potential renters, make sure you use paints that are washable so that in between tenants you don't always have to repaint, just in case you have times between tenants. And you want to have basic sturdy appliances. If you have fancy appliances and you're not in an area where you can get a lot in rent, you might want to consider pulling out your good appliances and putting in more basic sturdy appliances that you don't care so much about. You also want to consider a home warranty, especially when you're thinking about appliances. Home warranties go $400 to $500 a year, and about $75 to $100 for each service call, but they can be real lifesavers if you have a covered repair that might cost you thousands. You want to have all your lease documents and supporting documents all in line when you start to advertise your vacancy. You want to have an application that is up to date and conforms with all current laws and regulations. You want your basic lease, any addendums such as pet addendums if you allow pets, because you might be charging an additional security deposit for pets. You want also to consider house rules for any restrictions you want to put on the tenants, such as quiet times, parking regulations, etc., that are not contained elsewhere in the lease. You also want to have a good move-in and move-out checklist so that you and the tenant can document the condition of the home when they move in and then again when they move out. Very handy in the event that damage has been done and you need to show that it's damage the tenant is responsible for. You also want to have, just around where you can use them, special notices, such as if you need to go into an apartment to do a repair or to do an inspection. In most areas you have to give 24-hour notice, so have that 24-hour notice available. You can just fill it out and deliver it to the tenant so they know you're coming in. If you ever have a late paying tenant, you want to have a 3-day pay rent or quit notice, various legal notices. Look at what applies to your house and have those on hand. So, in summary, remember that a rental property is a business, and you have to have a plan, and you have to be treating that property as a business property. It's no longer a home. You can be a passive investor or an active manager. There's tax consequences, remember that. And you need a plan. Most importantly, you need a budget within that plan so that you don't get caught with unplanned for expenses. So that's our quick summary of how to take a home and convert it into a rental property. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. If you like this video, please like it. If you would like to see more, please in the comments tell us what you'd like to see. Ask a question, make a recommendation. We're always open. And we hope that you will subscribe and join us on the next cozy, charming, crazy real estate. We'll see you then.